Hello. This one's gonna be a weird one. For those of you who don't know me, which still at this point of the channel is probably anybody who clicks on this, my name's Marcus. This video isn't gonna be like the other stuff I put up on the video on the channel. Sorry, that right there should tell you, because this is going to be very loosely edited. I guess this is sort of gonna be like a podcast sort of thing. I'm not gonna call it a podcast because I don't think it is a podcast, but then again, I don't know the definition of a podcast. This is gonna be something weird. Before I get into anything, I feel like a little bit of justification is needed, even though it shouldn't be, because it's my channel, but I always feel like I have to justify whatever I make on this channel. So the first video, not the first video I ever made, that was like a shitty Minecraft Let's Play back in middle school. The first video that you can access on this channel is a video game titled, it's a video game, my bad. It is a video titled How Video Games Saved My Life. And real quick, sorry for the chair being squeaky. Once again, no editing is going to go into this if it is very little, so pardon the squeaky chair. But the first video you can access on this channel is called How Video Games Saved My Life. In that video, I went into a bit of detail about the various emotional and mental issues that I've had to struggle with, and the fact that I believe that the stories and video games and other forms of media that I really enjoy sort of saved me and helped me through those processes. So, and ever since that video, every other video has had some sort of an element like that in there, some sort of a human emotional element, and I really like that that style of my videos so far. So I feel like at this point, given how I've structured my videos, that mental health, and more specifically my own mental health, and sort of, oh, I hope you guys can't hear that airplane that just went over my house, but my mental health, my own mental health, and sort of this emotional aspect of people and how we perceive things and feel about things, I feel like that idea has sort of become intrinsically tied to this channel now. Which brings me to what this is. Excuse me. Which brings me to what this is. This is gonna be sort of a diary, a journal, or something like that for me, if you will. Because I notoriously have a problem with accountability. I have a problem with holding myself accountable to things that I want to make and want to do. This is because of my own issues. Since we're here talking about them, I have bipolar. That's one of the biggest problems I have. Because of that problem, it's really hard for me to, day to day, without an outside force pushing me, keep on a task. It's very easy for me to just get down on myself and give up on whatever I'm doing, no matter how much it means to me. And that's something I've struggled with my whole life. So I'm trying to go to Anime-Expo 2020. For me, that's going to be a bit of an undertaking. I don't have a lot of money. It's taken a second to get the money that I need for this. I also am very afraid of everything going on around this trip because of my anxiety issues. Also, I have an anxiety diagnosis. So there's a lot going on around this trip that is, it kind of pushes me to not want to do it. There's a lot of reasons I don't want to do it, but there's also a lot of reasons that I really want to, and one of them being cosplaying. So I think we should talk about that for a second, and hopefully try my best to meander my way into the point of this. I've been overweight pretty much my whole life. Not life-endingly overweight. I've been, it's caused problems, health issues, and body image issues. You know, I was never ridiculous, or, well, I guess it depends on your viewpoint. My heaviest was 300 pounds. And at about 6'6", 300 pounds, I definitely was not at a healthy weight, but there are people that are worse off than me. as of recording this, the last time I got weighed in, which was 3 weeks ago, I'm down to 265, which is great. I'm still overweight though. I'm still gross. I still have a massive gut. I still have a lot about my body that needs to be changed, and I have plenty of bodybuilder friends that are helping me with this. This ties into the cosplay. I have wanted to cosplay my whole life. And with this trip to Anime-Expo, Anime-Expo 2020, with this trip, I have found an excuse to do it. I've decided I'm going to be Nero from Devil May Cry 5, and yes, I will definitely be talking about the DMC series on this channel soon. That's just for people who care about the other videos I make on this channel. I've decided I wanted to cosplay Nero from DMC 5. And with that, I decided I wanted to go all out. I wanted to lose weight. I want to lose weight and get in shape for this and look good, you know? Not just for myself, but for the cosplay, you know, for the sake of the art, and then also, you know, for the sake of the fact that I haven't liked the way that I've looked my entire life, you know? So that's my meandering way of tying this back into this being something for accountability. I have a tendency to not be able to hold myself accountable. And I have a Twitter where I have decided to start posting miscellaneous updates for this cosplay stuff, and I'm going to post the cosplay pictures there too, so if you care about a weight loss journey, if that's stuff that interests you, or if the cosplay interests you, you can check out my Twitter. But I decided that I don't think that's enough for me. I decided that making something like this, and sort of exploring my own ideas on the topic of mental health and anxiety and depression and all of these sort of emotional problems that we humans end up with, I decided that exploring these ideas in a video format, because that's, you know, something I've been doing my whole life, would be a good way to keep me accountable. Right, so that's that out of the way. The idea that this is for holding me accountable for this massive undertaking. And by the way, the goal right now is for me to hit 185 pounds and be up to at least 110 pounds of muscle mass. Right now I am at 265 pounds with about 93 pounds of muscle mass. So, you know, I'm on my way, hopefully. With that being said, you know, with the idea that this is to hold me accountable, and with the idea of what I want to talk about, the next thing I need to justify to myself, and yes, we've been going on about 8 minutes now or something, and I'm just trying to justify making this to myself so far, but my last justification is, I believe I've been through a lot of these things, and with the benefit of hindsight, I guess, and the benefit of having been through a lot of these things and having gone to counseling for years and having taken a few psychology classes myself to try to figure out what the hell is going on with my brain half the time, I feel like if I don't, you know how to fix the problems, and believe me, I don't know how to fix the problems, but if I don't know how to fix the problems, maybe I have ideas that can help. And if I don't have ideas that can help, maybe I'm just some guy that you can relate to. We all like to relate. You know, we all like to know that there's people out there who feel the same. And I mean, it's harped to hell and back now that everybody faces their own mental demons, and everybody's got a new mental illness now, and it's, in all honesty, it's kind of in vogue, which is the reason I don't like to discuss it much. I don't like to talk about it much, because it's the new hot thing, and if, you know, sometimes you talk about it and people just don't believe you, because it's just what every high school kid says they have, you know? It's the cool thing to have now, which is a whole different conversation and a whole different gripe for a whole different video, but suffice it to say, I believe that maybe you can find some entertainment or some value out of this. If nothing else, maybe you can relate. Maybe it helps you out to know that there's someone else out there, and maybe I have some anecdotes or some ideas that you relate with. So we have the ideas, the goals to keep me held accountable for the things that I'm trying to accomplish, to talk about some of these things a bit more in depth outside of the veil of the video games that I talk about, and then to maybe create something for you to relate to. So, 10 whatever minutes in, and we finally have decided why we're here. Or rather, I've decided why I'm here. You can decide all by yourself why you're here. So, I guess what I want to talk about today is anxiety, for the most part. And I'm sure that's no surprise, given you've probably saw the title. Anxiety, while, bipolar has been a problem my whole life. I never knew until I got diagnosed, obviously, that that's what it was. Anxiety has been this ever-present force in my life that I've just known. I knew it was there. I knew it had a name, and ever since I had the idea to start making my own personality in my head right after elementary school, I had this idea of anxiety. It was a cloud over my head. The thing is with anxiety is when you have it bad enough, it becomes this ever-present force that constantly makes you question everything you're doing. It makes it hard to do things. You feel scared constantly about what you're doing. For me, it's this idea that if I mess up, people are going to look at me, and people are going to make judgments. And while the logical side of my brain says that doesn't matter, if you mess up, who cares? The logical side of my brain says, especially now at 21, that I have attempted and failed at so many things that it doesn't matter. Failure is part of the process, and you have to attempt and try and fail no matter what. The more irrational side of my brain says, yeah, but scary. People judge, it's scary. They judge. Judgment, bad. That's just what your brain does. Your brain almost seems out to get you half the time. It's this problem that I don't have the answer to, which is funny because this is the first episode of this, however many I make, and I immediately said that I don't have the answer. I can tell you all of the things that everyone tells you. When you have a panic attack, or not even just a full-blown panic attack, when you're starting to get in your head about something you're trying to do. Everybody says breathe. Everybody says take a step back. Everybody says get away from the situation. Everybody says stop thinking so much. There's a lot of advice out there that goes into it, and yeah. Stuff does work. I find that when I do have a full-blown panic attack, which thankfully, I don't think I've really had a full-blown panic attack in a little while, which is nice, when I did, just stopping and breathing slowly, forcing yourself to focus on that, get your heart rate down, take control of something in your body, because you have all of these things going on that you can't control. For me, and it's different for a lot of people, for me, suddenly my chest would get hot, and this heat would just spread down my arms, down my legs, my hands would start to shake, and I couldn't control it. My whole body would start to tremble. My vision would sort of swallow into a pinprick. It was the worst. And then my breathing would go. And the only thing that I could keep a hold of was my breathing, my breathing rate. I could slow my breathing down. And getting a hold of that one thing that I could control started to give me a tether to pull back. But that's the advice that everyone gives. Obviously, and some of it works. Obviously, do a quick Google search, find some of those techniques and try them out. It can't hurt to try. For me, though, one of the worst things about anxiety. One of the worst things for me was the idea that it could happen. I didn't necessarily have to have a panic attack for me to be afraid of a panic attack. Looking for a job a while back, before I got my first job ever, I obviously had my anxiety issues. I was so in my head about it. Excuse me. I was so in my head about it. So afraid. So constantly down on myself about it that I just had it in my head that if I tried, that if I went to these places and talked to these people, I would have a panic attack. which, I mean, it wasn't an unwarranted fear. I've had panic attacks from just talking to people before. I'm thankfully not that bad anymore. I used to be, but I've since gotten past that. It's still incredibly uncomfortable for me to talk to people that I don't know, and even if I'm talking to people that I do know, it gets to wear on me. You know, I need a moment. I need hours to myself to recharge, which every introvert gets that one. That's not even an anxiety thing. That's just more of an introvert thing. You know, social interaction is just a bit tiring for some people, which, you know, it's tiring for some people. But I was at the point where talking to strangers or being in public and being in spaces that had a lot of people would give me a panic attack. I couldn't go to the store. I couldn't even go to the gas station sometimes. I would have to wait till like midnight before I would get gas, and I'd have to go to a 24-hour place and hope there wasn't a lot of people, because it would just make me shake if there was so many people around. Again, thankfully, I'm not that bad anymore, but I got in my head about it because I was that bad. And just the fear of it happening again kept barring me from doing things. I had to finally hit this moment, and for me, it might be a little bit easier. I have a bit of a cheat code, and it's an unhealthy cheat code. Don't get me wrong, don't do what I do, but with bipolar, if you don't know anything about it, there's depressive lows, and then there is manic highs, and I had a bit of a cheat code in the fact that if I didn't take my bipolar medication, I could hit a really strong manic high, and my manic spells are strong enough to keep me up for days on end. I just immediately get insomnia, and I start working on projects, and 100% every video on the channel right now was finished while I was in a manic spell, which is not healthy. It's not healthy. Don't do what I do. I had a cheat code in the form of that. A manic spell would hit, and I would just get this point where I decided, look, I can sit here and be afraid that it's going to happen. I can be afraid of all of these things that could happen and just not do whatever I need to do because of that, or I can get off my ass and make it happen. And if something happens, you just have to accept it. And that's one of the scariest parts. One of the hardest parts for me about anxiety is you just have to let it happen. It might not work for everyone, but as long as I can keep my head, as long as I can keep cool and accept the idea that no matter what I do, it's gonna happen. I'm going to encounter these uncomfortable feelings, and I can just sit and just have them overwhelm me and have them ruin my life, or I can push through and do something about them. I guess this kind of loops back into the trip. Going to LA for Anime-Expo. Without giving away too specific a detail of where I live, it's about a 25-hour drive. And I've done road trips my whole life. That's not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. I've been on road trips that we were on the road for days on end. It's fun. I legitimately enjoy road trips, but even so, and even with all of my experience, I'm still terrified of driving that far. I'll have my friend with me, obviously, Thomas. He's been on the channel a few times. He's going to be my co-driver. He can drive, obviously. We're both decently skilled drivers. There's no reason to be afraid. There's no reason at all to be afraid, but for some reason I am, you know? Something about the drive, something about all of the possible things that could go wrong on the way there, something about all of the possible fears of driving within a big city like LA, because, I mean, I don't live in a very big city. I live in a very small city, so driving around here is nothing compared to a place like LA. And while logically I am totally confident in my skills as a driver, irrationally my brain's thinking, what do I do if I get into a high-speed car wreck all the way in LA, like hundreds of miles, like 1,000 miles from my home? What do I do then? What if I end up in the hospital? And it's this cascade effect of being afraid of things that haven't even happened, of being afraid of things irrationally that just haven't happened. You haven't even given them the chance to come to pass. So it's a strange place to be in your head like that. And I try my hardest to stay out of a place like that. And then with the trip, you know, I'm terrified of, you know, how I'm going to manage my time. You know, what if I want to do something at the convention and the others want to go somewhere else? Do I just sacrifice what I want to do because I'm afraid of being alone? Or do I just tough it out and stick with it? And then when I do, like, what am I supposed to do if I'm alone at the convention? I'm terrified of people, and I'm terrified of being alone. It's just a snowball effect of just being afraid of things that haven't even happened. And I guess that's anxiety. I guess that's what it is. Because when you boil it down, everything you're afraid of, not everything, I'm going to take that back right now, put an asterisk on it. Most of the things you're afraid of are irrational. I used to work at a car lot. I was just a porter. I moved cars. I drove a lot of cars. I delivered a lot of cars. But I was so afraid, and it was my anxiety acting up again, obviously. I was so afraid of making a mistake, of having a car wreck, of doing something wrong. I was so terrified that I would get there in the morning, and after moving like 1 or 2 cars, I would have to go to the bathroom and vomit because I've just worked myself into this fit. Obviously, I shouldn't have been that worried. At the end of the day, if you're driving cars, no matter what, you're gonna have a car wreck eventually. It's impossible to never have a car wreck. It's gonna happen, whether it's your fault or someone else's. There's no reason to be afraid of it. And then there's also the fact of, well, I mean, if I do mess up that bad, they fire me and I never hear from them again. What's to be afraid of? No bodily harm is going to come of it, obviously, other than having a car wreck, which that's a different set of fears. But I mean, my boss isn't going to come punch me in the throat because I messed up. You know, I'm not going to get arrested just because I messed up at my job. No, I'm just going to get fired. There was no reason to be that irrationally afraid, so much so that I would work myself to the point where I would be in the bathroom puking for 30 minutes. I'm not really used to little extended silences there, but I guess that comes with the territory of making this in a sort of podcast-ish format. But it boils down to, if you have anxiety, now not in all cases, there's obviously well-warranted fears, and you are able to discern the well-warranted fears from what's not warranted. I realize that not everybody can. I'm sure there's people out there that are so bad that they can't. Obviously, it would be a little bit difficult for me to talk to those people because I am not as bad as you. At the end of the day, I can only speak from my position, so take whatever I say with a grain of salt. What I've taken away from my time dealing with this illness, and I've gotten to a much better point than I ever have been. I used to be terrified that somebody would say hi to me if I walked into a store, and having to say hi back would petrify me. Saying that now, it sounds like the stupidest thing ever. Saying that now and knowing that I was at a point like that, it's the stupidest, and I hate myself for it, and that's a slippery slope to fall into as well. But I mean, I hate myself for being that bad, but it's where I was. Now, I mean, I'll have full conversations with the guy at the desk at my gym now. It's great. I'm not afraid of people talking to me. Now, is it still grating and a bit draining when it happens? Sure, obviously, that's not going to change, but I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm not afraid of all of these little nitpicky things throughout my day anymore. There's still anxieties, there's still problems that are there. And 100% because of how I am, I know that if you give me half a chance and maybe a week off of my medication, then my anxiety will go back to the levels it used to be. But that's another thing. If you need help, you get help. I guess I should probably say that the first video right off the bat. I know I'm probably 20 minutes late on saying this on the first video. If you need help, if it is that bad, if it is affecting your day-to-day life, if you can't get through the day because of what's going on with you, be it depression or anxiety, be it intrusive thoughts, be it voices in your head. Obviously, I can't help you with those because I don't have those except for my own stupid voice in my head. But if you have problems that persist, you need to find help. No man is an island. We can't do this alone. We're a social species for a reason, and we need other people. I took one psychology course in college to try to figure out my brain, and I failed out of college. So whatever I say is more anecdotal than anything, so don't take anything I say as any sort of gospel. If you have problems, find help. Find a counselor that you mesh with. I'm lucky enough to have had my first counselor be so good that I've been with her for years, and yes, it takes years sometimes. Honestly, 100%, it takes years sometimes to get over these problems. You don't really know where they come from. They can be so deep-seated that it takes you a long time to drag them out. So when you do seek help, understand that it may take you a long time. It may take a while to figure out what exactly is wrong, and it might not even be what you thought it was at the start. It's just how our brains work. Right, but looping back to the point that I forgot what I was making, to be perfectly honest with you, so I'll just continue another line of thought. Maybe we'll get back there in a second. But yeah, find help, seek help if you need it. I'm not afraid of those little nitpicky things throughout my day anymore, and I believe that it's because I finally understood. Sorry, I've been talking nonstop for too long to myself, so my grammar is getting all over the place. I understand now that anxiety is a thing that's going to happen. These mental problems that I have are things that are going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it, about the fact that it's going to happen. But I can be prepared, and I can understand that it's going to happen and not let it rule me. This trip to Los Angeles, to the anime convention that I'm putting so much time and effort into getting ready for, this is something I've wanted to do my whole life. As soon as I grasped the concept of an anime convention, as soon as I understood what cosplay was, I knew I wanted to do both of those things. And I just never was in a position to do it. And now that I am, I know exactly what kind of a person I am. If you give me half a chance, I will self-sabotage all over it. I will immediately get a refund on my ticket if I still can. Even if I can't, I will take the $100-some-odd loss, and I will cancel everything. But in order to keep that from happening, because I know it'll happen, I know me, and that's one of the things you have to understand yourself. You have to know what your symptoms are and what makes them happen, and what makes you tick. That's one of the things, one of the self-analytical things you have to do to help yourself get through these things. And since I know what kind of a person I am, I have continually pushed myself to make sure I don't get into that headspace. I am now in a position where if I don't go, Thomas is going to have a really hard time going. So if I don't go, it affects him too. So not only is my money on the line, his money is on the line as well. And the deeper I get into this, the more money I stake on it so that I can't back out. So when I do have that day or that week or maybe that month where I'm having a really hard time getting over a depressive episode, I know that if I back out, it's not only ruining me and all the money I put into it, but it's ruining Thomas as well. Now, 100% that's not a healthy way to do it. I understand that. And it's kind of dangerous to Thomas, and I promise that I will not. I promise right now with this video that I will not mess it up, because he wants this just as bad as I do. It's going to happen. And this video, and any more that I make like this, are 100% going to be the deciding factor in what keeps me on task for this. I might not hit my 185-pound goal, I might not hit my 110 pounds of muscle goal, but I'm going regardless. The cosplay just might not be up to snuff, but I'm trying my damnedest on that front, I promise you. So I've tied myself up in this so much so that if I have those episodes, I can't back out. And I know that if I do allow myself to slip into that, then I won't be able to come back, so I will push. I will make sure that I don't hit that. And one of the ways that I do it, and this could be different for a lot of people, this might help you. One of the ways I do it is I just keep busy. I was fortunate or unfortunate enough to realize how much I loved making videos and making books, and I hesitate to say voice acting because I love voice acting. I absolutely love it, but you wouldn't be able to find any of my stuff online yet. That's going to change soon because of the audio setup that I just bought. So hopefully you'll be able to find some of that stuff soon. It's probably not going to be great. Hopefully it's great. I hope it's great. We're going to figure out whether or not I'm actually good at it or anything like that. And once again, if you would care about any of that, the place to see updates on that would probably be Twitter as well. Not that I tweet a lot, not that there's a lot there, not that there's going to be a lot there, but that would definitely be a place where miscellaneous updates would be. This channel is for the videos I make. Twitter is going to be for books and voice acting and cosplay and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's a place to help hold me accountable as well, and try to bridge the gap between audiences if I do build an audience anywhere. So, looping back, I was fortunate enough to figure out that I loved doing this stuff, and that I wanted to do it as much as possible. And maybe, if somewhere along the line it becomes lucrative, then hell yes, I would love for all of this to be my job and everything that I make to get to people who enjoys it. I was lucky. I realized that after talking to a lot of my friends, not everybody seems to really know what they want to do with the rest of their life. But if you are lucky enough to have a hobby or to have something that you love enough to keep doing, I like to throw myself into my work. I like to pick a project or pick something I'm working on and dive into it. It really helps me personally keep busy, keep away from all of the things that would drag me down. If I am constantly pushing myself to be productive, then I don't leave much room to fall into these pits that I managed to get. Now, that obviously doesn't help much with the anxiety, but my projects and the things that I do end up becoming a motivator for me to get over it, to get over the anxiety. And before you start to think I'm advocating the idea of just get over it, I'm not. I understand it is more complex than that, but the projects I do and the stuff that I want to do and want to make, it really helps me push myself. It really helps me get to this idea of, like, look, I have these anxieties, I have these problems, they make life hell. It's detrimental to my health, but it's also detrimental to these things I want to do. And for some reason, the idea that it's detrimental to my health is less concerning to me than the idea that it is detrimental to the things that I want to create. With that said, the idea that the things I want to create might never get created or might never get to the people who would want to see them simply because I was too anxious to take the first step kills me. It absolutely guts me. So, they are what push me. They're what make me want to get through it. This trip to Los Angeles for Anime-Expo, I know I keep harping on it, but it really means a lot to me. It's more than just a trip to me. And maybe anybody listening, you can relate, or maybe this is an idea that you might pick up on. This trip to me is a lot more than just a trip to Anime-Expo. It's a lot more than just a trip to LA. This is a case study on myself, on my own brain, to see if I can do it. Because I know there's nothing stopping me. The only thing stopping me is my own brain. So, if I have this opportunity to do this thing that I have wanted to do my whole life, and the only thing stopping me is my brain, this is where the rubber meets the road, right? This is where we put the pedal to the metal. This is where we figure out if I'm actually better. This is where if I'm not better, this is where we get better, or die trying, in a manner of speaking, I suppose. The The idea is basically you can use a big event in your life to kickstart as a bit of a jumping off point. I saw this trip that myself and all my friends were planning as a way to finally tell my brain that I'm in charge, to finally push myself into a better position for myself, for my friends, for my family, and for the things that I want to create on YouTube or in my books or anything that I want to do. It's become an all-consuming thought for me, what the next step is for this trip. And it's done wonders for keeping me on the straight and narrow this long, I guess. So, okay, I've been rambling. Make no mistake that this is just some guy in his room rambling about how his brain doesn't work. That's exactly what this is. So, what is all of my rambling meant to mean today? I have an obsession with trying to mean something in every one of my videos, if you've seen any of them. What is this supposed to all mean today? Well, for one, we've established that this stuff is a bit of a video diary, or something to that effect, for me, to keep me held accountable for the things that I do, because if it's in a video format, and I say that I'm doing it, and I put it in a video, well, I've got to do it, regardless of how many people are watching or not watching. We've established that this is hopefully through my own experiences, I can impart some wisdom, and if I can't impart some wisdom, maybe at least you can relate, and maybe you find some solace in relating. I know I do. And then, what else do we have here? Sorry, this is all over the place, but I wanted it to be that way. I wanted it to be sort of a stream of conscious thing. I actually tried to write a script for this a few times, but it didn't feel right. It didn't feel right making a script for something this personal, this close to home. It felt much better putting it together like this, as sort of just this big chunk coming straight off of my brain. And if you relate, then hell yeah, that's what this is here for. I hope you feel something. Yeah, but also, what have we talked about? Well, the idea that what you're worrying about probably isn't as bad as you think it is. And I mean, it's really hard to see that in the moment. Yeah, I get that. I totally 100% get that. I used to have the worst panic attacks over my ex, right? We're gonna get real personal for a second. I used to have the worst panic attacks ever over my ex. But now that I'm years removed from that, those were like literally the worst panic attacks of my life. They would send me home from school, the idea that I would be near her, right? So looking back now, years removed, it's the strangest thing, because I look back at it and it's like, she's just a person, and she doesn't even like me anymore. She doesn't like me as a person. She's not even going to talk to me. She's going to go out of her way to pretend I don't exist right now. So, what am I worried about? It's as simple as that. What you're worrying about, you need to be able to take a step back and see, and examine, and self-reflect, and see just how bad it is. There are things that are bad, and even if they are bad, crippling anxiety is not going to help you. So, we've established that. Understanding that what you're worrying about probably isn't that bad. Which obviously doesn't help. Just knowing that whatever you're worrying about isn't as bad as you think it is does not help you at all. So the first step you take to getting past that is to accept the idea that no matter what you do, it's going to be there. No matter what you do, what you say, no matter what's going on, you're always going to feel that anxiety, unless you're on some really strong stuff. And even on the anxiety meds I have, it's still a bit leaks through. So, you're always going to feel it. You shouldn't let it rule you. You only get so long here on Earth. There's no reason to let a silly little fear like that hold you back. And I know, if you're in the thick of it, yeah, it's probably easy to just say, well, Marcus, it's not that easy. And see, the thing is, I was exactly where you are. I was exactly where you are. I dealt with it. I went through it. I went through the worst of it. I was exactly where you are, and the heart of the matter is you just have to accept it, because that's the first step to overcoming it. Accepting that anxiety is a thing, and no matter what you do, it's going to be there, right? The next part, keeping busy with the things that you love to keep yourself out of those lows. That's not really an anxiety thing, it's more of a depression thing, but I guess it's in here, so let's talk about it. The idea that you have, if you have hobbies or things that you'd like to do, or projects, or if you like the work you do as a job, throw yourself into it. Really go all out with it to push yourself to stay out of these lows. I recognize that only works for so long, but it's a step. At least for me, it's a step. It's certainly better than letting it happen, in my opinion. Once again, not a very professional opinion, but it's my opinion. And then the last thing, the idea of using big events in your life to kickstart a change. If you understand that a change needs to be made, take a second and think about why the change hasn't been made. Why haven't you done it? Why haven't you done something about it? What is keeping you from it? And if your only answer is because of your own mental issues, well, first, get help. Get help, seek a therapist or somebody that can help you. And two, if the only thing that's keeping you from making a change is these mental issues, well then you don't really have a good reason not to change, because those are the things that you need to be changing. It's sort of a catch-22 in a way. It's hard because your brain doesn't want you to do it. Your brain is irrationally afraid in the instance of having anxiety, or your brain is irrationally tired of being alive in the instance of having depression. It's weird. It's strange. It's this weird area where you have to take a step outside of yourself. You have to take a step outside of your own brain and make a conscious effort to see things objectively and to tell yourself that you can get through it. That's what has to be done. The only way to do it is to just do it, I guess. In the words of the immortal Wooly Madden from Super Best Friends, rest in peace. You have to just start. You have to just start. That's where it begins. That's what this little video log is for me. This is me just starting, putting that first foot down, and just powering through it. And if you out there are stuck in that headspace, stuck with this idea that you'll never get past these mental barriers, you just have to take the first step. And I guess that's what this is. Take the first step. Whatever you have to do, finding help, or accepting your anxieties, or finding a meaning, a way to push through your hobbies or whatever helps you, whatever makes you take that first step, find it and take that first step. It's as simple as that. This has been an interesting video to make. It's been weird, really weird. I haven't really dribbled on like this ever when I made a video. It's a weird feeling. Sorry if it's all over the place. I'm trying my best. I really am. But yeah, I guess this is me taking the first step, doing what has to be done, making sure that I am holding myself accountable. For anybody out there that cares about the normal videos on this channel, I am currently in the middle of making something. It should be done soon. I have the script and everything ready. I just need to voice over. So it should be done soon, and yes, I have been procrastinating like I usually do on it, but it's working. It's a work in progress. It should be out soon. But if you don't care about the videos on my channel, I'm not exactly sure why you're here, unless you're here just for these. And if you're here just for these, I mean, more power to you. Whatever you need, whatever helps. But hopefully I will be making more of these. I like to think that in the months running up to the Anime-Con, the anime convention, I will be making more of these in a way to sort of gauge how far I've come, you know, as a way to say I was here, now I'm here, and also to talk more about some of these subjects that I think about a lot. Mostly to talk about the things that I think about when I'm making videos, or when I'm writing a book, or when I'm working on any of the creative endeavors that I enjoy. I always come across quite a few thought processes, quite a few angles that are really hard for me to work through. And logically, I know the answers, but illogically, irrationally, my brain tells me they're insurmountable obstacles that I can't get past. And I know that's not true. So I figured the first step to getting past these is to talk them out in a format like this, because, you know, making videos like this has always been a really nice way of me putting closure on some of the things that I think about and that I feel for the video game, so why not try it with just the raw emotions in my brain? That's why I'm here, the first step. Thank you so much for tuning in if you did. I know it was long, but hopefully you find this podcast sort of format digestible. I know it's the new thing, it's all the rage, everybody likes to make a podcast now. It's not why I wanted to make it, I just figured this was the best way to put stuff like this together in a video format. But my voice is going out on me for rambling on like this. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to see more of this, there will be more, so just, you know, stick around, check back in whenever. My name's Marcus, and I'll see you next time, I guess.